Hello there. Welcome. Wherever you are in the world, and whatever time of day it may be for you, I'm so glad you've chosen to join me tonight. I often wonder where you're all listening from. A bustling city, a quiet town by the sea, perhaps a countryside home where you can hear the crickets. If you feel like it, I'd love to know in the comments. It makes our little community feel a bit closer. But for now, it's time to let that world outside gently fade away. Settle in, take a slow, deep breath, and allow yourself to be still. Tonight, we travel to a place where time moves differently. We are going to feel the dappled sunlight on our skin and breathe the air of the ancient woods as we learn what it was truly like to be a forest elf. The awakening of a forest elf, a being we might know by the name of Lyron, does not begin with a sound. There is no jarring alarm clock, no desperate fumbling for a snooze button 9 times in a row. There is not even the cry of a rooster. His return to the conscious world is a far more gentle, more profound process. It begins with a subtle shift in the great, silent symphony of the forest, a change in the very quality of the air and light around him. High above, through a canopy of leaves so dense that it forms a living cathedral ceiling, the light begins to change. The deep, velvety indigo of the lingering night does not vanish, but rather it is slowly infused with a new color. It is a soft, silvery green, the kind of light you might see at the bottom of a clear, clean lake. It filters down in shifting, dappled patterns, painting the forest floor with moving mosaics of shadow and light. It is a slow, patient awakening, a gentle announcement from the world itself that the time for rest is passing. Lyron, lying on a bed of soft, living moss high in the boughs of a great silverwood tree, perceives this change not as an interruption, but as an invitation. His day is beginning. And as the light awakens the eyes, the forest song awakens the ears. An elf's day truly begins with listening. It is not a conscious effort, but a state of being, like breathing. The first sound is always the wind. It is the keynote of the entire symphony, a long, low, gentle whisper that moves through the tops of the ancient trees. It is a sound that carries information, a story told in sense and temperature. Lyron can feel the coolness of the morning in it, the promise of a warm afternoon, the faint, clean scent of a distant stream. Then, upon that steady note of the wind, the first melodies begin. It is the tentative, fluting chirp of a single dawn singer bird. Its song is not a loud proclamation of its presence, but a quiet question posed to the morning, a shy inquiry to see who else is awake. Soon another answers from a distant branch, and then another, until a soft, intricate chorus of birdsong is woven into the fabric of the morning air. It is a gentle, delicate music, a stark contrast to the noisy, competitive chatter of birds in a city park. And beneath the birdsong, there is the rustling of the leaves, a sound as complex and varied as any language. The broad, dry leaves of the old oaks make a soft, papery scratching sound. The long, thin needles of the sentinel pines create a constant, gentle shush. The small heart-shaped leaves of the aspens flutter and tremble, chattering amongst themselves in the slightest breeze. To Lyron, this is not noise, it is conversation. It is the forest stretching, yawning, and beginning its day. As his senses awaken, so too does his sense of smell, which for an elf is perhaps the most profound connection to the world. The air is not just air, it is a rich and complex perfume. The dominant note is the deep, loamy scent of the forest floor, a smell of rich earth, of centuries of fallen leaves slowly, patiently returning to the soil. It is the smell of life, death, and rebirth. Layered upon this is the sharp, clean, almost spicy scent of damp moss, the kind that grows thick and velvety on the northern side of tree trunks. And woven through it all are the final fading whispers of the night. He can smell the sweet, heavy perfume of the moon petal flowers which have just begun to close their blossoms as the sun approaches. It is a sad, beautiful scent, a final goodbye to the darkness. All these sensory inputs, the shifting green light, the song of the wind and birds, the rich scent of the earth, they are the components of an elf's morning. He does not wake up to the world, he wakes up with it. And this brings us to the Elven concept of rest, which is fundamentally different from that of a troubled soul like a goblin peasant or even a hurried human. For an elf, sleep is not a disconnection from the world, but a deeper immersion into it. It is not a brief, troubled escape from a life of toil and fear. It is a state of communion. His consciousness, his spirit, does not shut down. It simply merges more completely with the great, slow, breathing life of the forest around him. He feels the slow, patient pulse of the sap rising in the trees, the quiet, contented dreams of the animals sleeping in their burrows, the silent, unceasing growth of the roots deep beneath the earth. He becomes another note in the forest's deep, slumbering song. Therefore, waking up is not a jarring return to a harsh reality. He does not feel groggy or unrestored. He feels re-emerged. His individual consciousness gently separates from the great collective consciousness of the woods, like a drop of water reforming from a tranquil pool. He returns to himself feeling centered, calm, and deeply aware of his place in the world. He is a part of the forest, and the forest is a part of him. His day does not start with a list of tasks or a feeling of obligation. It starts with a simple, profound act of listening, of feeling the world come alive around him and within him. He lies there for a long time, not moving, simply absorbing the morning, allowing the symphony of light, sound, and smell to wash over him, reattuning his spirit to the waking world. It is a slow, beautiful, and deeply peaceful process, and it is a luxury that only a being who measures their life in centuries, not days, can truly afford. After a time, when the last vestiges of the night have fully receded, and the morning's green light has filled every corner of his awareness, Lyron rises. He moves with a liquid, unhurried grace, a silent flow of motion that makes no sound on the mossy floor of his dwelling. His first act of the day is not to eat, nor to drink, nor to plan his tasks. It is to perform a ritual, a silent and personal ceremony that is as essential to him as breathing. He walks to the center of his home, which is not a hearth or a table, but the immense living trunk of the great silverwood tree from which his dwelling is grown. The bark is smooth and cool to the touch, its surface shimmering with a faint silvery luminescence, almost like mother of pearl. This tree is not just a part of his home, it is the heart of his home and the anchor of his own spirit. Leron stands before it, his bare feet sinking slightly into the soft, living moss that carpets the floor. He raises his right hand, not in a gesture of worship or supplication, but with a simple open palm. He places his hand gently against the cool bark of the tree. He closes his eyes, and he listens. This is not prayer. He is not asking for favors from a distant, separate deity. He is not beseeching a powerful spirit for guidance. This is something far more intimate, far more profound. It is a communion, a direct and silent sharing of consciousness. His own awareness, his own life force, flows from his palm into the tree, and in return, the vast, slow, ancient consciousness of the tree flows into him. It is a seamless, two-way exchange, a morning greeting between two old and dear friends who share the same living space and the same long, slow life. In this moment of connection, he ceases to be just Leron, an individual elf. He becomes part of a much larger network, a single sensory node in the vast interconnected web of life that is the ancient woods. And through the immense sprawling root system of the great silverwood, a system that stretches for miles beneath the forest floor, he begins to feel the pulse of the world around him. It is a sensation that a human could never comprehend, a flow of information that is not composed of words or images, but of pure, unadulterated feeling. First, he feels the thirst. It is a faint, persistent ache coming from a grove of young rowan saplings a quarter-mile to the east. They are new life, planted only a few decades ago, and their roots have not yet grown deep enough to reach the hidden water tables. They are thirsty for the morning dew, for the promise of the coming rain. He makes a mental note of this, a quiet intention to divert a small stream their way later in the day. It is not a chore on a list. It is a response to a need he can feel as if it were his own. Then his awareness drifts deeper, following a thick, ancient root. He feels a profound sense of contentment, a deep, quiet satisfaction that radiates from a patch of ancient ferns growing in a shady, damp hollow. These ferns have been here for millennia. They have seen the rise and fall of human kingdoms in the distant world beyond the woods. They have weathered countless storms and fires. They ask for nothing. They simply are. Their contentment is a soothing balm, a reminder of the deep, abiding peace that comes from a life lived in perfect harmony with one's surroundings. His consciousness sinks deeper still, past the roots of trees and the burrows of small animals, down into the cold, dark earth. And there he feels a different kind of sensation. It is the slow, deep, almost non-existent pulse of slumber. He can feel a family of badgers curled up together in their warm, dry set, their heartbeats a slow, steady drum in the deep quiet. He can even sense far deeper the profound stillness of a great cave bear, a creature of immense power, lost in a hibernation so deep that it borders on a temporary death. He does not disturb them. He merely acknowledges their presence, a silent greeting to his sleeping neighbors, and a quiet promise to protect their peace. Through this communion, he also feels the scars and the sorrows of the forest. He feels the phantom pain from a great oak that was struck by lightning in a fierce storm a century and a half ago. The tree is healing, its bark slowly, patiently closing over the great blackened wound. But the memory of the searing, explosive pain still lingers in its woody flesh, a story of survival etched in its very being. He can feel the faint, lingering trace of fear from a herd of deer that was startled by a passing wolf pack during the night. The deer are safe now, grazing peacefully in a meadow, but the echo of their panic remains, a faint, trembling vibration in the web of life. This morning ritual establishes Leron's role in the world. He is not a king ruling over his subjects. He is not a farmer tending his crops. He is a steward, a guardian, a single sentient cell in the great complex body of the forest. His personal well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of every tree, every plant, and every creature in his domain. Their thirst is his thirst. Their contentment is his contentment. Their pain is his pain. After a long while, he slowly withdraws his hand from the tree. The connection recedes, and his awareness gently contracts, returning to the confines of his own individual form. But he is not the same as he was before. He is now fully attuned to the state of the woods, carrying within him a living, breathing map of the world around him. He knows which plants need tending, which creatures are at peace, and which parts of the forest hold a lingering sadness. His day now has a purpose, not a purpose dictated by a schedule or a set of rules, but a purpose that arises organically from the needs of the life that surrounds him. This is the foundation of his existence. He does not see himself as separate from nature. He is nature, experiencing itself. And this deep, profound connection is the source of his strength, his wisdom, and his unending, patient peace. With the morning's communion complete, a faint, gentle sensation of hunger begins to stir within Leirin. It is not the gnawing, desperate emptiness of a starving creature, but a quiet, clean signal from his body that it is time to take in the energy of the new day. For a forest elf, the act of eating is as simple, as natural, and as ritualistic as the communion with the trees. There is no fire to be built, no pots or pans to be dirtied, no complex recipes to be followed. The forest itself is his larder, and his breakfast is a matter of gentle foraging, not of cooking. He steps out of the opening of his living home onto a wide, curving branch that serves as a balcony, high above the forest floor. The air is cool and crisp, alive with the sense of the morning. His eyes, with their legendary elven acuity, scan the nearby foliage. He is not looking for food in the way a human might scan a menu. He is looking for what the forest is offering this morning. His gaze settles on a thick, vibrant bush growing in a patch of dappled sunlight a short walk away. He knows this bush well. He has known it for over 300 years, since it was a tiny, struggling seedling. He has tended it, pruned it, protected it from blight, and whispered words of encouragement to it during long, harsh winters. And now, as it does every year at this time, the bush is offering its gift. He moves with that same silent, flowing grace, his feet making no sound on the soft, mossy ground. He approaches the bush, and for a moment he simply admires it. It is covered in small, bright, jewel-like berries, each one a perfect, glistening orb of deep, vibrant crimson. They hang in heavy clusters, catching the morning light and sparkling like 1,000 tiny rubies. He reaches out a long, slender hand and gently, almost reverently, plucks a handful of the berries from their stems. He does not strip the bush bare. He takes only what he needs, leaving plenty for the birds, for the small furry creatures of the forest, and for the bush itself to seed. It is an act of respectful partnership, not of harvesting. He brings the handful of berries to his lips. Before he eats, he inhales their scent. They smell of sunshine, of clean, rain-washed leaves, and of the rich, dark earth from which they grew. Then he places one in his mouth. The taste explodes on his palate, a sensation far more complex than simple sweetness. For an elf, taste is not just a chemical reaction on the tongue. It is a form of deep sensory memory. In the sharp, bright sweetness of the berry, he can taste the warmth of the sun that ripened it. In its subtle underlying tartness, he can taste the memory of the cool spring rains that nourished it. And in its earthy, almost wine-like undertone, he can taste the deep, ancient minerals of the soil, a history of the forest itself contained in a single, perfect sphere. He eats slowly, deliberately, savoring each one, feeling the clean, vibrant energy of the fruit flowing into him, becoming a part of him. This is not just eating. It is an act of absorbing the very essence of the forest. To complement his meal, he needs water. He does not journey to a stream or a well. The morning itself has provided his drink. He walks to a patch of large, broad-leafed plants that grow in a shady hollow. The leaves are shaped like perfect, shallow cups, and nestled in the center of each one is a small, shimmering pool of morning dew. The water is absolutely pure, filtered by the night air, untouched by the earth below. It is cool, clean, and alive. He selects a particularly large leaf, its surface holding a generous mouthful of water. He gently tilts the leaf to his lips and drinks. The water is cold and incredibly refreshing. It has no taste, and yet it tastes of everything. It tastes of the clean night air, of the moonlight that silvered it, of the living leaf that cradled it. It is a drink of pure, unadulterated life, and it washes down the sweetness of the berries, leaving him feeling clean, refreshed, and completely nourished. This is an elven breakfast. It is a meal defined by its simplicity, its freshness, and its direct connection to the living world. There is no separation between the garden, the kitchen, and the table. They are all one and the same. The concept of processed food, of ingredients transported over long distances, of meals cooked over a fire that transforms them into something other than what they were, is entirely alien to him. Why would one burn the life out of a food when its greatest gift is the life it contains? This direct, symbiotic relationship with his food source is fundamental to his being. It is why he is so strong, so vital, so resistant to the sicknesses that plague the shorter-lived races. His body is not just fueled by the forest, it is quite literally built from it. The energy of the sun captured in a berry, the purity of the night sky captured in a drop of dew. These are the building blocks of his existence. Having finished his simple, perfect meal, he is ready to begin the day's work, though for him it is a word that holds a very different meaning. He feels light, energized, and deeply connected to the world around him. He is not a conqueror who takes what he wants from nature. He is a participant, a partner in a grand silent dance. And his first meal of the day was simply the opening steps of that dance, a graceful, nourishing greeting between himself and the ancient woods that are his home, his provider, and his oldest, dearest friend. With his simple breakfast finished, Laren moves through his home, and it is here that we can truly begin to understand the profound difference between an elven life and any other. His home is not a structure. It is not a house, a cabin, or a hut. It was never built. It was grown. The concept of cutting down a tree, of taking its dead, lifeless wood and nailing it together to create a shelter, is an idea so barbaric, so fundamentally wrong to the elven way of thinking, that it borders on madness. To an elf, that would be like building a house out of bones. Instead, Laren's home is a living, breathing part of the forest itself. It is a dwelling that has been gently and patiently shaped from the boughs of a single, colossal silverwood tree, a process that has taken well over 500 years. The silverwood is a rare and ancient species of tree, known for its immense size, its longevity, and its bark that shimmers with a soft, pearlescent luster. This particular tree is a monarch of the forest, its highest branches tickling the clouds, its roots anchoring it deep in the heart of the earth. And nested within its mighty limbs is Laren's home, a place that is less of a building and more of a symbiotic collaboration. The entrance is not a door. It is a low, sweeping archway formed by two living branches that have been guided over centuries to grow into a perfect, welcoming shape. As you step through, you are not inside in the human sense. You are simply in a place of greater shelter. The air is still fresh, still filled with the scents of the forest, but it is calmer here, protected from the stronger winds. The floor is not made of wooden planks. It is a wide, solid, living branch, its surface worn smooth over the ages by the light tread of elven feet. It is warm to the touch, and you can feel the faint, slow, steady pulse of the tree's lifeblood moving beneath its surface. The main living space is a large, open-air hollow, a natural bowl formed by the convergence of several massive branches. The walls are the living trunk of the tree itself, and the ceiling is the dense canopy of leaves far above, which filters the sunlight into a soft, dappled, ever-changing pattern on the floor. There are no rigid, straight lines here. Every surface is curved, organic, flowing into the next. It is a space that feels both vast and incredibly intimate at the same time. The rooms are smaller, more sheltered hollows that branch off from this central space. A sleeping chamber is a deep, cozy nook, its walls lined with a thick, velvety carpet of living, springy moss that is softer and more fragrant than any mattress. A storage area is a dry, cool hollow in the heart of the trunk, where he keeps his simple belongings. A few changes of woven clothing, a reed flute, a quiver of arrows. Walkways and stairs are not constructed. They are simply other branches, some broad and sturdy, others slender and graceful, that have been encouraged to grow in specific paths, connecting the different levels of the dwelling. To move from one room to another is to walk along a living limb, your hand trailing on a banister of smooth, living wood. There is a constant, gentle movement to the entire home. When a strong wind blows, the entire structure sways slightly, not with the alarming creak of a man-made house, but with the deep, solid, flexible strength of a tree that has weathered 1,000 storms. It is a reassuring movement, a reminder that your home is alive and strong. And light in this living home is not a matter of windows. It is a matter of horticulture. Over the centuries, Laren has patiently guided the growth of the leaves and branches above, creating natural skylights, openings in the canopy that allow shafts of sunlight to pierce the gloom and illuminate specific areas. He can, over the course of a few years, close one window and open another, subtly altering the pattern of light within his home to suit the season or his mood. This is not just a house, it is a partnership. It is a deeply symbiotic relationship. Laren is not just a tenant, he is the tree's caretaker, its companion, its friend. He tends to the tree with the same care and devotion that a human might give to a beloved family member. He gently prunes away any dead or diseased branches. He whispers to it, sharing his thoughts, his sorrows, his quiet joys. He protects its roots from invasive fungi and keeps its bark clean and healthy. In return, the tree provides for him. It gives him shelter from the rain and the wind. It offers its sap, a sweet, nourishing drink in the springtime. Its branches provide a safe haven from the predators of the forest floor. The tree is his home, his fortress, and his oldest living relative. In this elven dwelling, the distinction between inside and outside becomes meaningless. There are only varying degrees of shelter, of exposure to the elements. Lying in his moss-lined bed, he is as much a part of the forest as the squirrel sleeping in a nearby hollow, or the owl perched on a branch above. He can feel the cool night air on his skin, hear the distant howl of a wolf, and see the stars through the shifting leaves of his ceiling. His home does not shut the world out. It invites the world in a gentle, controlled, and harmonious way. It is a way of life that requires immense patience, a deep understanding of the natural world, and a complete rejection of the desire to dominate or control. It is a life of cooperation, of living with rather than living on. And as Laren moves through the silent, sun-dappled spaces of his living, breathing home, he is filled with a sense of peace that is profound and absolute. He is not a lonely elf living in a tree. He is an integral part of a relationship that has spanned centuries, a quiet, beautiful collaboration between two ancient living beings. Now, with the forest's pulse felt and his body nourished, Lyron begins what the shorter-lived races might call his work. But this word, so often associated with toil, obligation, and reward, does not quite fit what he does. Lyron's work is a form of stewardship, a slow, meandering, and deeply purposeful patrol through the section of the ancient woods that is his domain. It is not a job, it is a responsibility, a sacred duty born of his deep connection to the land. His path is not a straight line. He does not march from one task to the next with hurried efficiency. He wanders. He meanders through the green, dappled light, his senses fully open, his path dictated not by a plan, but by the quiet, unspoken needs of the forest that he perceived during his morning communion. His first stop is the grove of young rowan saplings he had felt were thirsty. These are his children, in a way. He remembers planting their seeds 3 decades ago, a mere blink of an eye for him, but a lifetime for a human. He finds them looking a bit wan, their leaves slightly droopy. A small clear stream runs nearby, but its course has shifted slightly over the years, leaving the saplings just out of reach of its life-giving water. Lyron does not fetch a bucket or a shovel. His tools are his hands, his knowledge, and his patience. He wades into the cool, shallow stream and begins to move rocks. He selects them carefully, feeling their weight and shape, placing them one by one to create a small, gentle dam. It is a slow, meditative process, like a sculptor working with stone and water. He is not fighting the stream. He is politely asking it to change its course. After a time, he has created a new, smaller channel, a tiny tributary that now flows directly towards the thirsty roots of the young trees. He watches for a while as the dark earth around them grows moist, and he can almost feel the saplings drinking, a collective sigh of relief rising from the grove. His work here is done. He continues his slow patrol, his eyes scanning the forest floor, the tree trunks, the leaves. He is not looking for game to hunt or for trees to log. He is looking for imbalances, for signs of sickness or distress. He spots a patch of rare bell-shaped flowers, their petals a delicate shade of lavender. He has been cultivating this particular patch for 2 centuries, and it is the only one of its kind in this part of the forest. He notices that the leaves of one of the flowers are marred by a faint, powdery white substance, a blight. He kneels down, his movements gentle so as not to disturb the delicate blossoms. He takes a soft, damp piece of moss from his pouch and, with the tenderness of a mother cleaning a child's face, he carefully wipes the blight from each affected leaf. He then whispers a few soft, melodic words to the plant, a simple song of health and resilience. It is not magic in the way a human wizard might understand it. It is a transference of his own vital energy, an offering of his own strength to help the flower fight off its sickness. His journey takes him to the base of a truly ancient oak, a gnarled, colossal giant that was old when Lyron's own grandfather was but a child. 150 years ago, this oak was struck by a bolt of lightning during a fierce summer storm. The strike left a great, black, weeping wound down one side of its trunk, a scar so deep that many thought the tree would die. But the oak, with its deep roots and stubborn heart, had held on. And Lyron has been visiting it ever since, acting as its personal physician. He runs his hand over the scarred bark. He can feel the slow, patient progress of the healing. New bark, tough and wrinkled, is slowly, imperceptibly closing over the wound, like skin knitting itself back together. It is a process that will take another 200 years to complete. He leans his forehead against the trunk and closes his eyes, remembering the terror of the storm, the blinding flash, the deafening crack, the smell of burnt wood. And he sends a feeling of encouragement, of shared strength into the old tree. He is reminding it of its own resilience, of the thousands of seasons it has already endured. He is a witness to its long, slow recovery, a friend offering silent support on a journey of healing that spans generations. Lyron's work is measured in these timescales. A human might plant a garden and see it flourish in a single season. Lyron plants a grove of trees and will not see its full majesty for 1,000 years. A human might fix a leaking roof in an afternoon. Lyron helps a tree heal a wound over the course of 3 centuries. This is the perspective of a being who does not see time as a rushing river, but a deep, still, seemingly endless lake. There is no hurry, because there is always time. His work is not about achieving quick results. It is about nurturing slow, profound, and lasting change. It is the work of a gardener whose garden is the entire forest, and whose sense of time is geological. As he wanders back towards his home, the sun high in the sky, he feels a quiet sense of satisfaction. He has fulfilled his duties for the morning. He has balanced a small part of the world, tended to its needs, and reaffirmed his connection to it. He has not earned any money. He has not gained any power or prestige. He has simply left the forest a tiny bit healthier, a tiny bit more harmonious than he found it. And for a forest elf, there is no greater or more meaningful work than that. As the morning matures into the warm stillness of midday, Lyron finds himself in a sun-dappled clearing. He does not sit to rest, not in the way a tired laborer would. Instead, he simply stops. He stands perfectly still in the center of the clearing, his feet planted firmly on the soft, mossy ground, and he closes his eyes. He is about to engage in an activity that is as natural to him as breathing, but which would be an impossible feat for any other race. He is going to listen. This is not the simple auditory listening of the ears. It is a deeper, more holistic form of perception, a full-body immersion into the invisible currents and languages of the forest. To an elf like Lyron, the world is constantly speaking. The challenge is not in hearing it, but in quieting one's own internal noise enough to truly understand what is being said. His first focus is the wind. To a human, the wind is just moving air, sometimes pleasant, sometimes inconvenient. To Lyron, the wind is a storyteller, a messenger, a great invisible river carrying news from all across the land. He stills his own breathing, and he focuses on the feel of the air as it moves against his skin, and the complex tapestry of scents it carries. He can read the wind. Today it tells him many things. From the west, it carries the faint, clean, almost electric scent of distant rain, a promise of a storm that will arrive in a day or two. From the south, it brings the sweet, heavy perfume of honeysuckle blossoms from a grove that lies 5 miles away, a place he has not visited in many years. It is a scent that triggers a cascade of memories, a fleeting echo of a sun-drenched afternoon spent there a century ago. And from the north, it carries something else, something less natural. It is a faint, almost imperceptible metallic scent, tinged with the smells of old leather, sweat, and a hint of anxiety. He recognizes it instantly. It is the trail of a human traveler, lost and alone, who passed by the edge of the woods a few hours ago. He can feel the human's quiet desperation in the air, a faint, discordant note in the otherwise harmonious symphony of the forest. He feels a pang of detached pity, but he does not act. It is not his place to interfere in the brief, hurried lives of the sun-dwellers unless they directly threaten the woods. Having read the wind, he then turns his attention to the forest song, the complex, ever-shifting music created by the rustling of the leaves. This is a language he has spent his entire long life learning, and he is a master of its subtle grammar and vast vocabulary. Each type of tree, each species of plant speaks with its own unique voice, and their collective chorus reveals the overall mood and state of the forest. The great ancient oaks, with their broad, dry, lobed leaves, create a deep, whispering, rustling sound, a sound like the turning of pages in an ancient, dusty book. It is a wise, slow, and patient sound, full of the accumulated knowledge of centuries. When the oaks are whispering, the forest is at peace. The sentinel pines that stand on the high ridges have a different voice. Their millions of long, thin needles create a constant, gentle shushing sound, a sound like the distant, rhythmic breaking of waves on a shoreline. It is a soothing, meditative sound, the deep, steady breathing of the woods. It speaks of endurance, of resilience, of standing tall and unbowed through the harshest of winters. And then there are the aspens. The leaves of the aspen tree are small, round, and attached to a long, flattened stem that allows them to tremble and flutter in even the slightest breeze. Their collective sound is a light, quick, fluttering chatter, a sound like 1,000 tiny whispered conversations happening all at once. They are the gossips of the forest, the carriers of immediate news. A sudden agitated chatter from a grove of aspens might mean a predator is passing by, or that a strong gust of wind is approaching. Today, their chatter is light and easy, a sign of contentment. Lyron listens to this symphony, this interplay of whispers, shushes, and chatters, and he understands. He can feel the mood of the forest as a whole. Today, it is a mood of deep, tranquil contentment. The trees are well watered, the sun is warm, and there are no immediate threats. This perception extends beyond mere sound and scent. It is a form of empathy, of feeling the world on its own terms. He can feel the patient, unthinking ambition as it slowly snakes its way up a tree trunk, seeking the light. He can feel the fierce, maternal protectiveness of a mother bird as she sits on her nest of fragile blue-shelled eggs. He can feel the industrious, single-minded focus of an army of ants as they carry a fallen beetle back to their nest. He is not separate from these things. He is a part of them, a conscious witness to the millions of tiny, interconnected lives that make up the whole. This is the true gift and the true burden of being a forest elf. It is the ability to perceive the world in all its breathtaking, heartbreaking complexity. It is to be constantly aware of the great, slow, beautiful, and sometimes cruel dance of life and death that is happening all around you, all the time. To a human, the forest can seem like a place of silence and solitude. To Lyron, it is a place of unending conversation, of constant music, of a million voices speaking all at once. It is the richest, most complex, and most beautiful symphony imaginable. And as he stands in the sun-dappled clearing, his eyes closed, a small, serene smile on his lips, he is not just listening to the music. He is a part of the orchestra. Having immersed himself in the forest's song, Lyron feels a quiet, creative impulse stir within him. It is time to continue a project he began long ago, a task that perfectly encapsulates the Elven concept of craft. He returns to his living home, not to a workshop filled with benches and tools, but to a quiet, dry, and airy hollow high up in the trunk of the great silverwood tree. Here, resting on a series of carefully placed wooden pegs, lies his work in progress, a yew bow. To say he is making a bow is to use a word that is far too crude and hasty. Lyron is not manufacturing an object. He is coaxing a spirit from the wood. This is a process that began 50 years ago. He remembers the day clearly. He had been walking in a remote, high-altitude part of the forest when he came across a magnificent yew tree. He had communed with it, feeling its strength, its resilience, and the deep, coiled energy within its wood. He explained, in that silent, empathic language of his, what he intended. He was not asking to take a branch. He was asking the tree to make a gift of one. The tree, in its ancient, slow wisdom, agreed. He selected the perfect branch, one that grew straight and true with a tight, even grain. He did not saw it off. He used a small, razor-sharp obsidian knife to make a series of precise, shallow cuts around its base, a process that took several days. Then he simply waited. Over the course of the next year, the tree slowly, deliberately withdrew its life force from the chosen branch, leaving it strong, supple, and ready to be separated without causing undue harm to the parent tree. This is the Elven way. Even in taking, there is a deep and abiding respect. For the next 2 decades, the branch simply seasoned. It lay in this dry, airy hollow, protected from the sun and the rain, slowly, patiently releasing its internal moisture. Lyron would visit it regularly, turning it, feeling its weight, and listening to the subtle shifts in its internal structure. This was not a passive waiting period. It was a crucial part of the process, allowing the wood to settle, to find its true, stable form. Only after 20 years of seasoning did the shaping begin. This is a process that is still ongoing. Lyron does not use a rasp or a plane to quickly carve the wood into shape. His only tool is a small, curved knife with a blade of sharpened flint. And he does not work on it every day. He works on the bow only during specific, auspicious times, primarily during the different phases of the moon. During the waxing moon, when the creative energies of the world are growing, he does the rough shaping, taking off long, thin, ribbon-like shavings of wood. During the full moon, when the world is bathed in a soft, revealing light, he does the fine, detailed work, ensuring the limbs are perfectly balanced and symmetrical. And during the waning moon, when the world is turning inward, he does no work at all. He simply sits with the bow, holding it, feeling its energy, and allowing the wood to rest and adjust to its new shape. Today, the moon is just past full, a perfect time for fine work. He takes the bow stave from its pegs. It is already a thing of beauty, a long, elegant curve of deep, reddish-brown heartwood and creamy white sapwood. He runs his hand along its length, feeling for the slightest imperfection, the smallest imbalance. His sense of touch is so acute that he can feel variations in thickness that are finer than a human hair. He finds a spot on one of the limbs that is a fraction of a millimeter too thick. He takes up his flint knife and, with a slow, steady, and incredibly precise motion, he shaves off a single, paper-thin curl of wood. He then runs his hand over the spot again, nods in satisfaction, and puts the knife down. That is his entire work for the day, a single, perfect shaving. This is not laziness, it is patience. To rush the process would be to disrespect the wood, to force it into a shape rather than allowing it to reveal the shape that it was always meant to be. This philosophy extends to every part of the bow. The string, which now lies coiled in a small wooden box, is a masterpiece in itself. It is not made from hemp or sinew. It is woven from the silk of a very specific, very rare species of forest spider, a creature known for producing a silk that is finer than any hair, yet stronger than steel wire. Gathering this silk is a process of immense patience. Lyron does not harm the spiders or destroy their webs. He finds their abandoned webs, usually in the early morning when they are still beaded with dew, and carefully, painstakingly
gathers the individual strands. It can take him an entire year to gather enough silk to spin a single short thread. The process of spinning and weaving these threads into a single strong bowstring takes another decade. When this bow is finally finished, perhaps in another 20 or 30 years, it will not be just a weapon. It will be a work of art, an extension of the forest spirit, and a testament to a lifetime of patient, dedicated craft. It will be perfectly balanced, silent, and incredibly powerful. An arrow loosed from this bow will fly with an accuracy that would seem like magic to any other archer. But its true value is not in its power, but in its story. It will contain within it the memory of the yew tree that gave it life, the feel of the moonlight under which it was shaped, and the patient, loving energy of the elf who spent a human lifetime coaxing it into being. As Lyron places the bowstave gently back on its pegs, he feels a deep sense of connection to his work. This is not just a project, it is a relationship. He is not its master, he is his partner. And in a world that increasingly values speed, efficiency, and mass production, his slow, patient, and deeply personal approach to craft is a quiet act of rebellion. It is a testament to the idea that some things, the most beautiful and powerful things, cannot be rushed. They must be grown, nurtured, and respected, and they must be given the one thing that is more precious than any material: time.
The sun reaches its zenith, its rays now piercing the high canopy in strong, golden shafts of light that spear the forest floor. The midday air grows warm and still, and the chorus of the morning birds quiets to a sleepy, contented hum. A deep, peaceful hush falls over the ancient woods. For Laron, this signals the time for the midday meal, a pause in his wandering stewardship to once again take in the nourishment of the forest. He finds himself by a clear, bubbling brook, a place he has not consciously sought out, but one his meandering path has led him to. The sound of the water tumbling over smooth, moss-covered stones is a gentle, soothing music. He finds a large, flat rock at the water's edge, one that has been basking in a patch of sunlight for hours. It is warm to the touch, a natural, heated seat. He sits, not with a sigh of weariness, for he is not tired, but with a deep sense of peace. He is not on a break from his work. This moment of stillness is as much a part of his day's purpose as tending to the saplings or shaping his bow. Lunch, like breakfast, is a simple affair of foraging. He does not need to look far. Growing in a shady, damp spot at the base of a birch tree are a cluster of tender young mushroom caps. He recognizes them as sky caps, a particularly delicious and nourishing variety with a faint, nutty flavor. He plucks a few, their smooth, velvety caps cool in his hand. Near the edge of the brook, he spots the feathery green tops of a patch of earth root. He uses his fingers to gently dig into the soft, loamy soil and pulls up a few of the small, crisp white roots. He rinses them in the cold, clear water of the brook, washing away the dark, rich earth that clings to them. And from a small woven pouch at his belt, he takes a handful of sun nuts, harvested last autumn from a tall, ancient tree and saved for just such an occasion.
This is his midday meal: a few tender mushroom caps, a couple of crisp, clean roots, and a handful of rich, oily nuts. It is a meal of textures and subtle flavors: the soft, yielding flesh of the mushroom, the sharp, clean crunch of the root, the dense, satisfying richness of the nut. It is a meal perfectly balanced by nature itself, providing him with all the energy he needs for the rest of the day. He eats slowly, with the same mindful deliberation as his morning meal. There is no rush. There is no schedule to keep, no appointment to make. His time is his own, governed only by the slow, graceful rhythm of the sun's passage across the sky. And as he eats, he watches. His attention is not turned inward, lost in his own thoughts. It is turned outward, focused on the small, beautiful, and often overlooked dramas of the world around him. He watches a dragonfly, its body a shimmering jewel of iridescent blue and green, its wings a blur of transparent, cellophane-like motion. It hovers for a long, still moment over the surface of the water, a perfect, living sculpture suspended in the warm air. Then, in a flash of impossible speed, it darts forward and snatches a small, unsuspecting fly from the air, a miniature, brutal, and beautiful act of predation. He watches a water strider, a creature of impossible lightness, as it dances across the surface of the brook, its long, delicate legs making tiny, fleeting dimples on the water's surface tension, never breaking through. It moves with a skittish, nervous grace, a tiny acrobat performing on a stage of liquid crystal. He picks up a piece of fallen bark from the ground beside him. He does not see just a piece of wood. He sees a world. He traces with his finger the intricate labyrinthine patterns carved into its surface, the winding, crisscrossing trails left by tiny burrowing insects. He sees the different shades of color, from the dark, rich brown of the outer bark to the pale, creamy yellow of the inner cambium. He sees the patches of vibrant green moss and the delicate, silvery lacework of lichen that have made a home on its surface. It is a map of a long and complex life, a story of growth, of struggle, of a quiet, symbiotic existence, all contained in a small, forgotten fragment. This is the Elven concept of a moment of stillness. It is not an empty pause, it is a full one. It is a time for deep, focused observation, for appreciation the infinite complexity and beauty of the world in its smallest details. A human sitting in the same spot might grow bored, their mind restless, eager to move on to the next thing. Leron can sit here for an hour, for 2, and feel no boredom at all. His mind is not restless, it is captivated. The world is his book, his art gallery, his theater, and there is always something new and fascinating to see, even in a place he has seen 1,000 times before. He is not just resting his body, he is nourishing his spirit. He is reaffirming his connection to the world, not through a grand conscious communion, but through the simple, quiet act of paying attention. He is reminding himself that he is just one small part of this vast, intricate, and breathtaking tapestry, a single thread in a pattern that is too large and too ancient for any mind to fully comprehend. When he has finished his meal, he leaves no trace. The small, inedible stems of the mushrooms are returned to the earth to decompose. He has taken nothing from this spot but nourishment and a deep sense of peace. He rises, stretches, and with a final appreciative glance at the dancing dragonfly, he continues on his meandering path. The afternoon awaits with its own quiet tasks and gentle discoveries, and Laron is ready for it, his body fueled, his mind clear, and his spirit deeply, profoundly at peace with his place in the world.
As the afternoon sun slants through the trees, casting long golden fingers of light across the forest floor, Laron's path takes him into a wide, open clearing. It is a peaceful place, a circle of lush green grass surrounded by a ring of ancient, silent trees. But for Laron, this clearing is not just a place. It is a library, a museum, a mausoleum of memories. For a being who has lived for thousands of years, the land itself becomes a history book, and every rock, every tree, every glade is a page filled with the echoes of the past. He stands at the edge of the clearing and remembers. His memory is not a fuzzy, dreamlike recollection. It is as sharp and as vivid as the day it was formed. He looks at the colossal oak tree that stands as a silent sentinel in the center of the clearing, its massive, gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like the arms of a weary giant. And he remembers it as a sapling. He remembers the day over 2,000 years ago when he found it as a tiny, struggling seedling, no taller than his knee. He remembers clearing the competing weeds from around its base, protecting it from a hungry deer, and feeling its fierce, stubborn will to live. He has watched this tree grow from a fragile infant to a mighty monarch, a process that has taken more than 20 human lifetimes. He has rested in its shade, listened to the whisper of its leaves, and witnessed the endless cycles of its life. He is, perhaps, the only living being who remembers its entire story. His gaze drifts across the clearing, and another memory surfaces, this one tinged with a gentle, profound sadness. He remembers a summer afternoon, perhaps 6 or 7 centuries ago. A human child, a little girl with hair the color of dandelion fluff and eyes full of a fearless curiosity, had wandered away from her village and into the deep woods. He had watched her from the shadows, a silent, unseen guardian. He remembers her laughing as she chased a butterfly through this very clearing, her small, joyous shrieks echoing in the quiet air. He remembers how she had sat at the base of the young oak tree and made a crown of wildflowers for her hair. He had kept her safe, subtly guiding her path back towards her home, without ever revealing himself. He knows her story. She grew up, married, had children of her own, grew old, and eventually her body was returned to the same earth that she had once played upon. Her entire, vibrant, precious life, her joys, her sorrows, her loves, her fears, was but a fleeting summer afternoon in the vast expanse of his own memory. The entire existence of her village, a place that to its inhabitants seemed so permanent and important, is now just a few moss-covered foundation stones hidden in the undergrowth at the forest's edge. He is a living historian, but his histories are not written on scrolls or carved into stone. They are written on his heart. He carries within him the memories of ages, the stories of countless fleeting lives that have brushed against the edges of his own. This is the great gift and the great burden of being an elf. It is to be a permanent fixture in a world of constant, unrelenting change. It is to watch the beings you come to care for, the children of summer, as his people call them, burn so brightly and then vanish like sparks from a fire flying up into the night sky. He has seen civilizations rise and fall. He has seen heroes born and heroes die. He has seen love stories blossom and fade in the space of a single drawn-out breath. Each memory is a treasure, a beautiful, poignant story that he holds dear. But collectively, they form a great weight, a quiet, pervasive melancholy that is a constant companion to every long-lived elf. It is a sadness not of personal loss, but of a deep philosophical understanding of the transient nature of all things. It is the sorrow of the mountain that watches the river flow by, the sorrow of the star that watches the world turn. He walks to the center of the clearing and places a hand on the rough, gnarled bark of the great oak tree. He does not commune with it this time. He simply stands with it. Two ancient, silent beings sharing a moment of quiet remembrance. The tree, too, remembers. It remembers the weight of the little girl's back as she sat against its trunk. It remembers the feel of the sun on its young leaves, the bite of the winter frost, the songs of the birds that have nested in its branches over thousands of seasons. Together, they are the living memory of this place. They are the guardians of its stories, the keepers of its boasts. After a time, the weight of the memories becomes too heavy. It is not a crushing weight, but a gentle, persistent pressure that reminds him of the vastness of time and the smallness of all living things. He takes a slow, deep breath, letting the sadness wash through him, acknowledging it, honoring it, and then letting it go. He cannot dwell in the past, for the present is always calling to him with its own quiet needs and gentle beauties. He gives the old oak one final parting touch, a gesture of deep shared understanding, and continues on his way. He leaves the clearing behind, a silent, sun-drenched library of echoes, and steps back into the shade of the trees. The melancholy does not vanish completely. It will always be a part of him, a subtle, minor key in the grand, peaceful symphony of his spirit. It is the price he pays for his long life, the bittersweet cost of remembering so much for so very long. And it is what gives his endless peace its profound and beautiful depth.
As Laren continues his meandering path through the deepening afternoon shadows, his highly attuned senses pick up on a discordant note in the forest's symphony. It is a sound that does not belong. It is not the natural sound of a predator or the peaceful sound of a grazing herbivore. It is a sound of distress, a frantic, thrashing rustle accompanied by a soft, high-pitched bleat of panic. He stops instantly, his body perfectly still, his head cocked to one side as he pinpoints the source of the sound. It comes from a dense, thorny thicket of brambles just ahead. He moves towards it, his light, silent footsteps a stark contrast to the panicked struggling coming from within the thorns. This is the only form of drama that ever truly punctuates his peaceful existence. It is not the clang of steel or the roar of a great beast, but the small, quiet, and desperate struggle of a single creature in need. Peering through the tangled branches, he sees the source of the commotion. It is a young deer, a fawn no more than a few months old, its dappled coat still soft and new. In its youthful carelessness, it has wandered into the thicket, and its slender back leg has become hopelessly entangled in a tough, thorny vine. The more it struggles, the tighter the thorns wrap around its leg, and the deeper they dig into its tender skin. The fawn's eyes are wide with terror, its small body trembling with a mixture of pain and fear. A human might approach the situation with a sense of urgency, perhaps crashing through the thicket to get to the animal quickly. But Laren knows that such an approach would only terrify the fawn further, causing it to struggle more and injure itself even more severely. He knows that the first step in any rescue is to calm the fear. He does not step into the thicket. Instead, he simply sits down on the mossy ground, a respectful distance away, making himself small and non-threatening. And he begins to speak. He does not use words in the human sense. He uses his voice as an instrument, producing a low, soft, melodic humming sound, a gentle, soothing tone that is more feeling than language. It is the sound of calm, of peace, of reassurance. It is a sound that says, "I am not a threat. I am here to help. Be still. Be calm." He remains there for a long time, humming his quiet song, his body perfectly relaxed. The fawn, at first, continues to struggle, its panicked eyes fixed on this strange new creature. But gradually, the soothing, resonant quality of Laren's voice begins to have an effect. The fawn's frantic thrashing lessens. Its panicked bleats soften to quiet, fearful whimpers. Its trembling begins to subside. It is still afraid, but the sharp, overwhelming terror is beginning to be replaced by a cautious curiosity. Only when the fawn has grown relatively still does Laren begin to move. He rises slowly, his movements fluid and deliberate, and begins to approach the thicket. He continues his low, humming song, never breaking eye contact with the young deer, projecting an aura of absolute calm and gentle intention. He reaches the edge of the thicket, and with his long, slender fingers, he begins to patiently, carefully untangle the thorny vine. He does not rip or tear at it. He works with the thorns, not against them, finding the path of least resistance, gently unwrapping the vine from the fawn's leg, one thorn at a time. The fawn flinches as he touches the vine, but it does not struggle. It seems to understand, on some deep instinctual level, that he is helping. The process is slow and meticulous. A few of the thorns have pierced the fawn's skin,
and he works with incredible care to dislodge them without causing further pain. Finally, after several minutes of patient work, the last of the thorns comes free, and the fawn's leg is released. The fawn stumbles for a moment, its leg weak and sore. It looks at Laren, its large dark eyes filled with a mixture of lingering fear and a dawning animal-lanian gratitude. But Laren's work is not yet finished. He can see a few small bleeding cuts on the fawn's leg. He kneels down, plucks a few leaves from a specific nearby plant, a plant he knows has powerful healing properties, and places them in his own mouth. He chews them slowly, mixing them with his saliva to create a soft, green, fragrant poultice. This may seem like a strange, even primitive form of medicine, but it is deeply effective. The enzymes in his elven saliva activate the healing compounds in the leaves, creating a potent natural salve. He then gently, carefully applied the chewed leaf poultice to the small wounds on the fawn's leg. The poultice is cool and soothing, and the fawn, though it trembles slightly at his touch, allows him to administer the treatment. With the wound cleaned and salved, he steps back, giving the young deer its space. The fawn stands there for a moment, testing its leg, taking a tentative step, then another. It looks back at Laren one last time, a final silent acknowledgement passing between them. Then, with a flick of its white tail, it bounds away, disappearing silently into the deep green shadows of the forest. Laren watches it go, a faint, gentle smile on his lips. He has not performed a grand, heroic deed. He has not slain a monster or saved a kingdom. He has simply performed a small, quiet act of kindness. He has restored a tiny piece of the forest's harmony, healed a small wound in its living fabric. This is his role. He is the protector of all life in his domain, from the mightiest oak to the smallest, most fragile fawn. He is a guardian, a healer, a quiet force for balance in a world that is often anything but. He feels no pride in his actions, only a deep, quiet sense of rightness. The forest had presented a problem, and he had provided a solution. It is as simple and as profound as that. And with the small, frantic drama now resolved, he turns and continues his journey, the gentle, peaceful rhythm of his day seamlessly restored. As the sun begins its slow, graceful descent, painting the western sky in hues of soft gold and rose, Laren returns to his living home in the boughs of the great silverwood. The air is growing cooler, and the shadows are lengthening, stretching like long, dark fingers across the forest floor. The afternoon is a time for a different kind of work, a quiet, contemplative craft that is as much a form of meditation as it is a practical activity. He moves to a sheltered, sun-dappled hollow that serves as his weaving space. Here, leaning against the smooth, curved trunk of the tree, is his loom. Like all of his possessions, it is not a complex mechanical device. It is a simple, elegant frame, made from two strong, flexible branches that have been bent into shape and lashed together with tough, leather-like vine. It is a tool that is both functional and beautiful, a perfect marriage of nature and craft. Today, he is continuing his work on a new tunic. The cloth that is slowly, patiently taking shape on the loom is a testament to the elven art of creating from nature. The materials have not been bought or traded for. They have been gathered with great care and respect from the forest itself. The primary thread, the warp of the fabric, is a fine, strong fiber spun from the soft inner bark of the willow tree. Gathering this fiber is a delicate process, done only in the spring when the sap is running, and only a small amount is taken from any one tree so as not to cause it harm. The weft, the thread that is woven through the warp, is a blend of several different materials. There is the floss from the milkweed pod, a substance as soft and as white as new fallen snow, which provides warmth and a gentle downy texture. There is the shimmering, almost magical silk from the forest spiders, the same silk he uses for his bowstrings, which gives the fabric an incredible strength and a faint, subtle luster. And there are fibers spun from the fine hair-like roots of certain grasses, which add durability and a pleasing earthy texture. The colors of the fabric are the colors of the forest itself. They are the muted, harmonious shades that allow an elf to move unseen through the woods, to become a part of the landscape. Laren does not use harsh artificial dyes. His colors are drawn from the bounty of the world around him. The deep, mossy greens are created by boiling certain types of lichen. The rich, earthy browns come from the husks of walnuts and the bark of the oak tree. The soft, shadowy grays are derived from the ashes of a specific type of fungus. And for a rare decorative thread, a vibrant crimson red is coaxed from the same jewel-like berries he ate for his breakfast. To create these dyes is an art form in itself, a process of alchemy that transforms the humble plants of the forest into liquid color. Laren sits before the loom, his posture relaxed, his movements slow and deliberate. He takes up a small, smooth wooden shuttle, upon which is wound a thread of soft, moss-green milkweed floss, and he begins to weave. The process is a slow, rhythmic dance. His hands move with an easy, practiced grace, passing the shuttle back and forth through the taut threads of the warp, his feet gently working the simple heddles to raise and lower the threads. The only sound is the soft, whispery thump of the beater as he presses each new line of thread firmly into place. This is not the frantic, clattering noise of a human textile mill. It is a quiet, peaceful, almost silent activity. As he weaves, his mind enters a state of calm, focused contemplation. He is not just creating a piece of cloth. He is weaving his thoughts, his intentions, his own serene energy into the fabric. He thinks of the willow tree that provided the warp, remembering its graceful, weeping branches. He thinks of the milkweed pods bursting open in the late summer sun, releasing their white, silken treasures to the wind. He thinks of the patient, industrious spiders, the master weavers of the forest, from whom he has learned so much. The cloth that grows beneath his hands is more than just a garment. It is a story. It is a tapestry of his relationship with the world around him. It holds the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the shade, the memory of the plants and creatures that contributed their gifts to its creation. When he wears this tunic, he will not just be wearing a piece of clothing. He will be wrapping himself in the very essence of the forest. He will be carrying a piece of his home with him wherever he goes. The work is slow. A single small tunic like this might take him an entire season to complete. There is no deadline, no pressure to produce. The quality of the final product is all that matters. He would rather spend a month perfecting a single small section than rush to finish an imperfect whole. This is the Elven way of craft, a philosophy that values patience, respect, and a deep, harmonious connection with the materials. It is the antithesis of the human world's obsession with speed and convenience, and it is what makes Elven craft so legendary, so sought after, and so impossible to replicate. As the light begins to fade and the air grows cool, Laren weaves his final thread for the day. He runs his hand over the section of cloth he has created. It is soft, yet incredibly strong. It is simple, yet exquisitely beautiful. It feels alive. He feels a quiet sense of accomplishment, the deep, satisfying peace that comes from creating something of beauty and utility with your own two hands from materials freely and respectfully given by the world. He leaves the loom as it is, the unfinished tunic a promise of many more quiet, contemplative afternoons to come. The day is drawing to a close, and there are still a few more gentle rituals to perform before the forest and he can finally rest.
Just before the sun dips below the horizon, Laren is drawn by a sound that is a harsh, discordant note in the evening's gentle symphony. It is the sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps, the clank of metal on metal, and the loud, boisterous sound of voices raised in conversation and laughter. It is the sound of the hurried folk, as his people call them. He moves silently to the edge of the high, broad branch that serves as his balcony, a natural vantage point that offers a clear view of the forest floor below. He melts into the shadows of the leaves, his own muted green and brown clothing making him all but invisible. From this safe, hidden perch he observes. On a well-worn path that skirts the edge of his domain, a small group of dwarves is making their way home from a nearby mine. There are 5 of them, their bodies stout and strong, their beards long and intricately braided. They carry heavy pickaxes on their shoulders, and their leather aprons are smudged with dirt and rock dust. Laren does not interact. He does not call out a greeting or show himself. He simply watches, a silent, unseen observer, and he perceives them through the long, slow lens of his elven perspective. To him, their movements seem frantic, almost comically rushed. They stomp along the path, their iron-shod boots making a loud, clumsy thudding on the hard-packed earth. They do not walk with the silent, flowing grace of an elf, but with a determined, purposeful, and noisy momentum. They seem to be at war with the ground, trying to conquer it with every step. Their voices, too, seem unnaturally loud in the quiet, sacred hush of the twilight forest. They are laughing, shouting, and arguing, their deep, gravelly voices a harsh intrusion on the gentle evening air.
They are not listening to the forest. They are filling it with their own noise, imposing their own boisterous presence on the world around them. They not listen to their words, his keen ears picking up their conversation with ease. They are talking of their day's work, of a rich vein of silver they have discovered, of the profits they will make, of the fine ale they will drink tonight to celebrate. Their talk is of quotas, of deadlines, of progress. Their lives, it seems to him, are a series of tasks to be completed, of goals to be achieved. They are always moving towards something, always in a hurry to get to the next thing. He watches one of the dwarves, a young one with a bright coppery beard, who seems particularly excited. He gesticulates wildly as he speaks, his energy a brilliant, crackling fire. Leiron looks at him and sees not just a young dwarf, but an entire life played out in a fleeting, frantic blur. He can see this dwarf working in the mines for the next 200 or 300 years, his body growing thicker, his beard longer, his face more deeply lined. He can see him marrying, having children, growing old, and then, in what will seem to Leiron to be a mere handful of seasons, he will be gone, his vibrant, fiery energy extinguished, his body returned to the stone he so loved to work. This is how he perceives all the shorter-lived races, the humans, the dwarves, the children of summer. Their lives are like the frantic, beautiful, and heartbreakingly brief life of a mayfly. They hatch, they dance in the sun for a single glorious day, and then they are gone. There is no judgment in his observation. There is no sense of superiority. There is only a deep, profound, and somewhat sad curiosity. He cannot understand their hurry. What is the rush? Why do they fill their short, precious lives with so much noise, with so much striving, with so much concern for the future, and so little appreciation for the present moment? They seem to be in such a desperate hurry to reach the end of their lives, as if they are eager to see what lies on the other side. He, on the other hand, is in no hurry at all. He is content to simply be, to exist in the long, slow, endless now. His life is not a race to a finish line. It is a slow, meandering walk through a beautiful, eternal garden. The dwarves pass by his tree and continue on their way, their loud voices and heavy footfalls slowly fading into the distance. The forest breathes a collective, quiet sigh of relief, its peaceful harmony restored. Leiron remains in his high perch for a long time, watching the spot where they disappeared, pondering the strange, beautiful, and tragic nature of these hurried folk. He feels a strange mixture of pity and admiration for them. He pities their blindness, their inability to see and hear the deep, quiet beauty of the world around them. But he also admires their fire, their passion, their incredible, vibrant energy. They live with an intensity that is both foreign and fascinating to his own serene, tranquil spirit.
They burn, and though their flame is brief, it is undeniably bright. As the last of the sunlight fades from the sky and the first stars begin to appear, he turns away from the path and back towards the heart of his living home. The brief, noisy intrusion is over. He is once again alone, but not lonely, in the deep, silent, and ancient woods. And he is filled with a renewed appreciation for his own long, slow, quiet life, a life that allows him the time to truly see, to truly hear, and to truly understand the world in all its magnificent, heart-breaking detail. As twilight deepens and the world is painted in soft, muted shades of purple and gray, Lyron feels a gentle internal pull, a quiet summons to a prearranged yet unspoken meeting. This is not an obligation, but a desire for the unique and subtle companionship that only another elf can provide. He descends from his home in the great Silverwood and begins a silent journey through the darkening woods. His destination is a place of power, a sacred space known to the elves of this forest for millennia. It is a small, perfectly circular clearing, and in its center stands a ring of ancient standing stones. These stones are not native to this forest. They were raised by the very first elves who walked these woods, in an age so distant that even Lyron's memory barely reaches it. They are made of a dark, star-speckled granite, and they hum with a faint, latent energy, a resonance left behind by thousands of years of elven communion. The air within the stone circle feels different. It is stiller, quieter, and seems to vibrate at a slightly higher frequency. When he arrives, he finds he is not the first. 2 other elves are already there, standing silently among the great stones. One is a female elf named Lyra, her long silver hair glowing faintly in the twilight. The other is an older male elf named Phelan, his face a testament to an age even greater than Lyron's own. They do not greet each other with loud hellos or hearty handshakes. The elven concept of greeting is a far more subtle and profound affair. Lyron simply enters the circle and takes his place among the stones. Lyra turns her head, and her eyes meet his. A small, almost imperceptible smile touches her lips, a silent gesture that says, "I see you. I am glad you are here." Phelan gives a slow, single nod of his head, an acknowledgement that is both a welcome and a sign of deep, ancient respect. This is the extent of their greeting. It is all that is needed. For the next hour, they do not speak a single word. They simply stand or sit on the cool, mossy ground and share the silence together. This is the nature of elven community. It is a companionship of presence, not of words. They do not feel the need to fill the quiet with idle chatter, to narrate their days, or to share their opinions. They have lived for so long
and know each other so well that most of what needs to be said can be communicated without speech. They can read each other's moods in the subtle shifts of their posture, in the gentle rhythm of their breathing, in the quiet light of their eyes. Lyron can feel Lyra's deep, peaceful contentment, a serenity that seems to radiate from her like a soft, warm light. He can also feel Phelan's profound, ancient melancholy, the quiet, weary sadness of one who has seen too much and remembers everything. And they, in turn, can feel his own quiet, observant peace, the feeling of a day well spent in stewardship and communion with the forest. This silent conversation is far deeper and more meaningful than any spoken dialogue. It is a direct sharing of spirit, an unadulterated communion of souls. There are no misunderstandings, no misinterpretations, no words left unsaid. There is only a pure, quiet, and perfect understanding. After a long shared silence, Lyra reaches into a small woven pouch at her side. She brings out a handful of sun nuts, the same kind Lyron enjoyed for his midday meal. She does not offer them with words. She simply holds out her open palm. Lyron takes one, and Phelan takes one. They eat the nuts slowly, the small, quiet sound of their chewing the only noise in the clearing. This act of sharing food is also a form of communication. It is a gesture of community, of mutual care, of reaffirming the bonds that connect them. It is a simple, profound statement. We are here, together. We provide for one another. The act is imbued with a sense of ceremony, of quiet ritual. It is a humble feast, a sacrament shared under the watchful eyes of the ancient stones and the first bright evening stars. As the last of the twilight fades and the night becomes complete, Phelan, the eldest, finally speaks. His voice, when it comes, is soft and low, like the rustling of dry leaves. He does not say much. He might share a single cryptic observation, a piece of ancient wisdom that has risen to the surface of his long, slow thoughts. He might say something like, "The moon is a patient hunter tonight," or "The stones remember the cold." These are not conversation starters. They are offerings, poetic fragments of thought dropped into the shared pool of their silence. Lyron and Lyra do not reply with words. They simply nod, absorbing the statement, contemplating its many layers of meaning. They understand that he is not just talking about the moon or the stones. He is talking about time, about memory, about the very nature of their existence. This is how elves converse. They trade in ideas, in feelings, in resonant images, not in the clumsy, literal currency of human speech. Their gathering does not have a formal end. There are no goodbyes, no promises to meet again. When each of them feels that the need for companionship has been satisfied, they simply depart. Lyra is the first to leave. She gives them both another one of her quiet, knowing smiles, and then she turns and melts into the shadows of the woods, as silent as a fading dream. A while later, Lyron feels it is his time. He gives Phelan a final respectful nod, and he too departs, leaving the ancient elf alone with his long, deep thoughts among the silent, humming stones. He walks back to his home in the great Silverwood, his spirit nourished not by conversation, but by communion. He feels centered, balanced, and deeply connected to the other quiet, patient souls who share this ancient forest with him. He is not alone. He is part of a community that is held together not by laws or by loud declarations, but by the strong, invisible, and unbreakable threads of shared silence and perfect mutual understanding.
Returning to the high branches of his Silverwood home, Lyron does not immediately seek his bed of moss. The night is clear and cool, and the forest has a different kind of life now, a different kind of beauty. For a forest elf, the night is not a time of fear or of ending. It is simply a different kind of day, one illuminated not by the single golden orb of the sun, but by the scattered silver light of a million distant suns. He finds a comfortable perch on a high open branch, a place where the dense canopy of leaves thins out, offering a clear, unobstructed view of the night sky. For a human, the night sky is a beautiful but largely static backdrop. For an elf, it is a living document. It is a map, a calendar, and the oldest and most sacred history book he has ever known. To him, the star-dusted blackness above is a scroll, and he is one of its most devoted readers. The forest floor may be dark, but the world above is awash in a soft, silvery luminescence. The moon, nearly full tonight, hangs like a polished pearl in the sky, its cool, gentle light filtering through the leaves and casting the woods in a breathtaking palette of silver and shadow. And scattered across the velvety blackness are the stars, a glittering diamond-like dust thrown across the heavens. They do not twinkle for his keen elven eyes. They shine with a clear, steady, and intensely brilliant light. Lyron leans back against the trunk of the great tree, and he begins to read. He traces the familiar patterns of the constellations, not with his finger, but with his mind. These are not the simple two-dimensional connect-the-dots pictures that humans see. For him, the constellations have depth, a three-dimensional reality. He can perceive the subtle differences in the brightness of the stars, and he knows which ones are closer and which ones are unimaginably far away. He sees the great celestial river of the galaxy, a shimmering, milky band of light that stretches from one horizon to the other, and he feels a profound sense of his own smallness and of the incomprehensible vastness of the cosmos. Each constellation holds a story, an ancient piece of lore passed down through countless elven generations. He looks at the constellation of the Silver Heart, its antlers branching across a wide swath of the northern sky. He remembers the story of how the heart was the first creature to drink from the waters of creation, and how its antlers now hold the memory of the first light.
It is a story so old that it predates the creation of the mountains and the seas. A story that he first heard as a young elf thousands of years ago, from an elder who has long since passed into the west. He sees the shape of the weaver, a small, tight cluster of stars that represents the celestial spider who, according to Elven lore, wove the fabric of space and time itself. He remembers the songs that are sung about her, quiet, intricate melodies that mimic the complex, beautiful patterns of her cosmic web. And he sees the Wanderer, a single bright star that seems to stand alone, separate from the other constellations. This is the star of the Elven people themselves, a symbol of their long, often lonely journey through the ages of the world. He looks at it and he feels a deep, resonant connection to his own kind, to all the other quiet, patient souls scattered throughout the world, all looking up at this same solitary point of light. But he does not just see the stories, he sees the time. The night sky is his calendar. He can tell the exact time of year, not by the month or the date, but by the precise position of the constellations in the sky. He knows that when the silver heart's antlers dip below the western horizon just after sunset, the last of the winter frosts has passed and the true spring has begun. He knows that when the weaver is directly overhead at midnight, the summer solstice has arrived, and the days will begin their slow, inexorable march towards winter. It is a calendar that is far more reliable, more profound, and more beautiful than any paper chart made by human hands. And he sees something else in the stars, something that no human, with their fleeting 100-year lifespan, could ever hope to perceive. He sees the slow, millennial drift of the stars themselves. Over the course of his long life, he has watched the constellations shift, their shapes subtly, almost imperceptibly changing. A star that was once a part of the heart's antler is now, thousands of years later, drifting slightly away from it. The Wanderer is not quite in the same position it was when he was a child. This is the great dance, the slow, majestic, cosmic waltz of the galaxies. A movement so vast and so slow that it makes the rise and fall of mountains seem like a brief, frantic affair. To witness this drift is to have a true, profound understanding of the nature of time. It is to know in your very bones that nothing is permanent, not even the stars themselves. It is a deeply humbling and strangely comforting realization. It puts all the small, hurried struggles of the world into their proper perspective. As he lies there, reading the great starlit scroll of the heavens, he is filled with a sense of wonder and of peace. He is a tiny, insignificant being on a small, spinning world, looking up at an infinity of other worlds. And yet, he is not lost. He is a part of it all. He is a child of the stars, made from the same ancient dust, and he can read their stories, understand their movements, and feel their silent, steady light on his face. This is his final communion of the day, a silent conversation with the cosmos itself. It is a ritual that centers him, that reminds him of his place in the grand, beautiful, and eternal scheme of things. And it is the perfect, peaceful prelude to his own nightly rest.
The night is now deep and silent, the air cool and fragrant with the scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine. The moon, a perfect silver disk, has climbed high into the sky, and its gentle, ethereal light washes over the sleeping forest, turning the world into a dreamscape of soft shadows and shimmering silver. Leiron, his spirit filled with the quiet, cosmic grandeur of the stars, knows that the time for his own rest is near. But there is one final ritual to perform, one last gentle interaction with the world before he allows his consciousness to merge with the forest's deep slumber. He moves from his high open perch back into the sheltered hollow of his home. From a small hidden nook in the living wood, he takes out his flute. It is a simple, humble instrument, a stark contrast to the impossibly complex bow he is so patiently crafting. It is carved from a single straight river reed, harvested from the banks of the brook where he took his midday meal. It has no keys, no intricate carvings, no decorative flourishes. It is simply a hollow tube with a series of small, perfectly placed finger holes. It is an instrument as natural and as unadorned as the forest itself. He returns to the edge of his high balcony, the same place where he greeted the morning sun an eternity ago, and he sits, his legs dangling in the cool night air. He brings the reed flute to his lips, his long, slender fingers resting lightly on the holes. For a moment he does not play. He simply listens one last time to the sounds of the night, the gentle sigh of the wind in the pines, the distant, mournful call of a hunting owl, the rhythmic, hypnotic chirping of the crickets. He takes it all in, allowing the music of the night to fill him. Then he begins to play. The music that flows from the flute is not a structured composition. It has no repeating melody, no predictable rhythm, no formal beginning or end. It is a soft, meandering, improvisational tune, a direct, unfiltered expression of the peace and contentment in his own soul. It is the sound of his day translated into music. The notes are long, clear, and hauntingly beautiful. They rise and fall with the gentle rhythm of his own slow breathing. Some notes are bright and clear, like the shafts of morning sunlight piercing the canopy. Others are low and mournful, like the memory of the long-lost human child in the clearing. Some passages are light and fluttering, like the wings of the dragonfly he watched by the brook, while others are deep and resonant, like the ancient humming energy of the standing stones. This music is not for an audience. He is not performing. He is not seeking applause or admiration. This music is a gift. It is a gift back to the forest, a humble offering of gratitude for the day that has passed. It is his way of saying thank you. It is a thank you to the bush that gave him his morning berries, to the tree that gives him shelter, to the stream that quenched his thirst, to the sun and the moon and the stars that light his world. It is a lullaby for the sleeping trees, a quiet, soothing melody to accompany them in their long, slow, nightly respiration. It is a song of peace for the creatures of the night, a gentle reassurance that all is well, that a friendly, watchful presence is guarding their slumber.
The pure, clear notes of the flute drift out into the night, weaving through the branches, mingling with the moonlight, becoming a part of the air itself. The music is so soft, so perfectly in harmony with the natural sounds of the night, that it does not seem like an intrusion. It seems as though the forest itself is singing. A curious nightingale, perched on a nearby branch, might pause its own song to listen. A prowling fox on the forest floor below might lift its head, its ears twitching, a look of calm wonder in its intelligent eyes. The music flows over them, a gentle, benevolent presence in the darkness. Leiron plays for a long time, his eyes closed, his mind empty, his spirit poured entirely into the simple, beautiful notes. He is not thinking about the music. He is the music. He is a vessel, a channel through which the peace and beauty of his own elven soul can be given voice and shared with the world. When he feels that his heart is empty, that he has given all the gratitude and peace he has to give, he plays one final, long, soft note, holding it until his breath is completely gone, allowing it to fade slowly, gently, into the vast silvered silence of the night. The final echo dies away, and the world returns to its own quiet music of wind and crickets. The ritual is complete. Leiron carefully places the simple reed flute back in its sheltered nook. He feels a profound sense of closure, of a day perfectly and harmoniously lived, from the first light of dawn to the last note of his evening song. He is now ready for rest. There is nothing left undone, nothing left unsaid. His heart is calm, his spirit is at peace, and he is ready to surrender himself to the gentle, welcoming embrace of the sleeping forest.
With his final song played and the flute safely tucked away, Leiron moves to his sleeping chamber. It is not a room in the human sense, not an enclosed box designed to shut out the world. It is a deep, sheltered hollow nestled in the heart of the great silver wood tree, high above the forest floor. And his bed is not a bed. It is a cradle of living moss. Over many centuries, he has encouraged a particular species of moss to grow here, a variety known for its deep, springy texture and its soft, velvety surface. It has formed a thick, living mattress that conforms perfectly to the contours of his body. It is cool to the touch, and it releases a faint, clean, earthy fragrance, a natural aromatherapy that calms the spirit. He lies down upon this bed of moss, his body sinking into its soft, welcoming embrace. He does not pull a blanket over himself. The cool night air is his blanket. He does not close a door or a window. The entire forest is his room. He lies on his back, his hands resting gently on his chest, and he looks up. Through the carefully guided opening in the canopy above, he can see a patch of the night sky, a moving tapestry of shimmering leaves and distant, steady stars. He is open to the world, vulnerable, and completely, utterly safe. Sleep for Leiron is not a shutting down.
It is not an escape from the world. It is the final, most profound act of connection. It is a conscious, willing surrender of his individual self, a merging with the great collective life force of the forest. The process is slow and gentle. He begins by focusing on his own breathing, the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of his chest. Then he gradually expands his awareness outward. He aligns his own breathing with the deep, slow, imperceptible breathing of the great silver wood tree that cradles him. He can feel the slow, steady pulse of its life, the movement of water from its deep roots to its highest leaves. He becomes one with the tree. His consciousness then expands further, flowing out from the tree like invisible roots into the world beyond. He feels the cool, damp earth beneath him, the silent, patient stones. He feels the gentle, ceaseless movement of the air, the cool night breeze on his skin becoming the breath of the world itself. He feels the collective, peaceful slumber of the forest's creatures, the badger in its set, the squirrel in its dray, the birds roosting silently on their branches. He does not fall asleep. He joins the forest in its rest. His individual awareness, his laron, begins to dissolve, to melt away at the edges, like a drop of ink in a vast, clear pool of water. He is no longer a separate being, an observer looking at the world. He is the world, observing itself. There is no separation. There is no distinction between self and other. He is the moss beneath him, the branch above him, the stars beyond him. He is a leaf on the great cosmic tree of the world, a single, small, and perfect part of a whole that is vast, ancient, and eternal. This is the Elven secret to peace. It is the understanding that you are not in the world. You are the world. And in this state of perfect, blissful unity, there is no room for fear, for anxiety, for the restless striving of the ego. There is only a deep, profound, and unshakable sense of belonging. There is only peace. His last conscious thought is not a thought at all, but a feeling of returning home, of sinking into a vast, loving, and eternal embrace. And then there is only the quiet, the darkness, the slow, steady breathing of the sleeping world. And there, cradled by the living wood, under a blanket of starlight, our elf finds his rest. His day was not one of great deeds, but of small, quiet acts of care. A life not measured in victories, but in the slow, steady turning of the seasons. A peace that we can only glimpse. May your own rest tonight be just as deep and just as connected to the quiet heart of the world. Sleep well.